How's everybody doing? Good. All right. Looking good over there? Good to see you guys. All right. The regular council meeting for Tuesday, June 27, 2023 is called to order at 7:06 p.m. We're going to have a moment of silent meditation followed by the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. May I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call, Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Perla will not be in today. Councilperson Erbaum. Present. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Here. Councilperson Martin.
Present.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christy Alou, Village Manager, and Joseph Geller, Village Attorney. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I appreciate that. Next is approval of the agenda. I just want to add two quick items to the agenda. That would be under the presentations. And so we'll do our state senator's office, State Senator Chevron Jones will do their office first, followed by our distinguished county commissioner, District 3, Keon Hardeman's office. We'll do those presentations in that order. If there's no more additions or subtractions, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Erbaum. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving on. Good and welfare. This is the point in time where if anybody has anything that they want to say as far as what's on the agenda itself, you can come up, say your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to do so. First, good and welfare. There will be another at the end. Hearing, seeing none, moving on. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? It's moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
I'll second. You.
I had somebody for, what's that? For good and welfare? Yes. Good and welfare, is it about skate park again? Yes. Okay, that'd be the second good and welfare. All right, no problem. Do I have a second for approval of the consent agenda?
Second.
Second for Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, we're gonna move down to the, right now to the presentations. First, we're gonna have up State Senator Chevron Jones's office. How you doing? Mr. Olesak, we spoke earlier today, and I appreciate all your help with adding the state senator to our next informational exposition. For everybody remembers the last informational exposition, we were graced by not only you all, but we were graced by our county mayor, Daniela Levine Cava. We have our state senator, Chevron Jones, coming to this one. Along with, again, we had last time, we had County Commissioner Hardeman's office was there, and we're going to have the county commissioner himself at this upcoming one. Mr. Olasak, Ms. Brandon Moore, and Mr. Garel, you guys, we have 2 podiums here, and just step up to the plate, say your name and address for the record, and the floor is yours. We appreciate you being here.
My name is Joe Lexak. I'm Chief of Staff to State Senator Chevron Jones. My address is in Fort Lauderdale, 106 South Federal Highway. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Mayor, and the Village Commission. Senator Jones sends his regards. He's feeling under the weather, so he sent us in his stead. As the mayor said, I just want to introduce my coworkers, Marina Brandon Moore, works in our district office, and Kai Garrell, who just started 3 weeks ago and will be joining Senator Jones and myself up in Tallahassee this upcoming session. I just have a couple things I just want to run through real quick. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to letting us speak today. So our office is located in Miami Gardens. Right on 183rd and Northwest 6th. So if anybody is ever in the area, please feel free to stop by our office at any time. We'd be more than happy to have you in and talk more about some of our services. we do a whole lot of stuff in our office. We do a lot of event planning, and we do a lot of constituent service. We pride ourselves in being available always a phone call away for our constituents, and that includes all of you all now. So please do not ever hesitate to reach out to us. Marina was handing out these little cards below here. On here is just some more information about our office, as well as a QR code, very handy, which will take you to sign up for our newsletter, which I encourage you all to stay in touch, especially moving forward, because committee weeks are coming up much faster than any of us anticipate. Now, Senator Jones normally would give a legislative update. I'm just going to kind of briefly touch on a couple pieces of legislation that we worked really hard on. Senator Jones saw pass the finish line this session. First is the Guidance Services Bill. This is actually a really awesome bill that is going to help take students from a very young age, beginning now in 6th grade, and applying them not just to what is available in terms of universities and colleges, but also trade schools, apprenticeships, internships, and just allowing every student to know by the time they enter high school what their options are, including the military as well, just to figure out, where they're heading to, because not necessarily every student is set to go to college. A lot of kids can learn a lot of really important skills younger if you make those decisions earlier on. So that's something we're really excited about seeing past the finish line there. Another one that I'm really happy with, and it's one we're actually going to circle back with and do a little bit more next session, which is the students with disabilities. Right now, moving forward, what we're going to be able to do is students with disabilities who receive a IEP at the beginning of 3rd grade will be able to stay past that and stay with them until they graduate high school, whether it be at 18, 19, or 20 years old. We're actually going to take that a step further this upcoming session so that money stays with students going through college age as well, so that they can help transition to the adult services that come a little bit later on to make sure that that gap is filled. So that's something we're going to revisit. And then finally, is Curtis's Law. This is a piece of legislation that is going to make that was just signed into law as well. That is going to make it so that any parent of a child of homicide, where the child is the victim of homicide, will be the police department will be required to maintain contact with them, just to ensure that the parents, as they're grieving, are given all the tools that they need, all the information that they need, so they can move through that process, including just receiving basic information as the investigation plays out. So those are just a couple of things that we've been working on. Obviously, a lot is happening in Tallahassee at all times. So moving forward, as we head into the next legislative session, committee weeks again start this fall. Please maintain contact with our office. We look forward to working with you, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of the commission to talk about your legislative priorities so that we can champion what you guys need here in El Portal, as well as all of South Florida. And finally, I just wanted to take a moment to plug our We the People University. Is going to be coming up August 26th at North Miami Library. This is a flyer that we also have passed around. This is a great opportunity to come and learn about how our government works, including filing legislation, how the legislative process works out, as well as how the appropriations process works out. So if you want more information about that, whether you have a nonprofit or you have some ideas for legislation, please stop by RSVP, sign up for our newsletter, and we'll stay in contact that way. That's more than happy to answer any questions if the commission has any questions for our office at this time.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Olstek. Any questions or comments from the Councilperson Lightfoot Ward?
That was fast. RCP.
I'm sorry?
What's RCP? That's my first question. You keep saying in your last comments, RCP. What is that?
RSVP?
RSVP.
I'm sorry. I apologize
That's
if I
okay.
wasn't clear on
That's
that
all right.
one.
That's the first one.
Please RSVP for our We the People University.
Okay, you're here reporting on how the congressperson or
State Senator.
the state senator prevailed this time, right?
Correct.
You were talking so fast, I couldn't understand whether the main legislation was passed.
And particularly with terms to students with disability, it's something that Senator Jones has been, as an educator, passionate about for years, and that was probably one of his biggest championships this year. That was his biggest victory, ultimately.
And what was the victory?
Passing the Students with Disabilities bill to ensure that students that are receiving disability money are entitled to that money throughout their stay, and they're not being held back which is currently an issue past 3rd grade.
Okay, all right. There was something else you said in terms of local government, and I didn't get that either, but I know it was something about local government that you mentioned is going to be part of the statute now? No? If you don't remember it,
I'm
don't-
trying to recall. I don't recall.
He spoke about IEPs and how they're going to be extended through the adulthood. He spoke about Curtis's Law, which is he wants law enforcement to keep in touch with individuals that are victims of a homicide, the parents of the individual, so that they keep updated on what's going on.
There was a third one that you mentioned. I just can't remember what it was.
I
I'm
think
trying to write as fast
I
as
think it
you
was the
were
event at the
talking.
library.
Yeah.
That was probably the main local event that we have going on. It's a big event that we do every year. We, the People University, Marina does an amazing job setting up, getting vendors there, getting speakers, getting lobbyists to help actually talk about the practitioner standpoint of how to file a bill, how to file appropriations.
Well, give the senator our regards, and particularly mention that I did think about her, and she's doing a good job as far as I'm concerned. All right?
Thank you so much, and we look forward to being a part of the State of the Village at the end of September as well. So hopefully Senator Jones will be there for that. Hopefully we can bring him in here between now and then as well and connect then.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Commissioner.
much.
Thank you, Mayor.
You keep calling us a commission. We're a council.
Oh, I apologize. I'm so sorry. I apologize for that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Olasek. I really appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all being here. Thank you very much. Let's have County Commissioner Hardeman's office come up, please, District 3.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council persons. I am Rosny Augustine Jean Lewis. I am the Intergovernmental Affairs Coordinator with County Commissioner Keon Hardeman of District 3, which is your representative at the county level. This is my colleague, Marcus Barfield. He is the district coordinator and who also oversees the El Portal area. I thank the mayor and the council persons for inviting us this evening. Just a few updates on some things that have been happening in the office and will continue to happen moving forward. For all the businesses in El Portal that apply for the Keon Hardeman Small Business Grants, those results will be coming out soon within the next 6 weeks for the applicants as well as the results. So if you were selected, you would get further information. If you were not selected, you also get that information within the next few weeks. Most recently, North Miami Avenue, where the Little River Canal is, that impacts the El Portal area. I know this is the highway to El Portal. If you have driven this road, you notice that in the last 10 days that we have officially moved over to the east side of the road. So we're 50% complete on this project. I know this has been a long time coming. I have to tell you that it has been unexpected and unforeseen review process through the United States Army Corps of Engineers that has been the delay in addition to supplies, equipment to properly facilitate the bridge, not just above, but also underneath because of where it sits on the river. So there's a lot of intergovernmental agreements and conversations that need to happen. So far, our Department of Transportation and Public Works has given us constant updates. As of this afternoon at 4 o'clock, we received another update letting us know that we're moving on the right track. As updates come in, myself or Marcus will contact or send information to the mayor as well as Manager Alou to let them know. Here's some pictures. I know you visually see it, but just to let you know that we're actively working on it, and if you have any additional questions, to let us know. I know that the village has their 4th of July on July the 3rd here at the Tot Lot. But our city, well, hopefully, if you do host it this year, Commissioner Hardeman is also hosting a 4th of July barbecue at Charles Hadley Park, which is 1350 Northwest 50th Street at 4 p.m. at Charles Hadley. It's open to all of our community, regardless of where you live in the county, as long as it's open to the public. So feel free to stop by, enjoy it. It is free for the public. Also coming up on July the 11th, the Department of Transportation and Public Works, DTPW, will be having a Metro Mover update public meeting in regards to the system, the upgrades that are coming to the system, what we can foresee in the future, and it's a hybrid meeting. So Marcus or myself will also send that information to the manager as well as the mayor so that they can distribute to the residents and those who have any questions. As of this moment, I'm open to take any questions from the council persons as well as the mayor or the public. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to see us. We'll be here in the room. Our office is at 5400 Northwest 22nd Avenue at the Joseph Caleb Center on the 7th floor.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Miss Augustine. Thank you, Mr. Barfield. Good to see you all, as always. And you know, Miss Augustine, she stays on top of it. She'll call me up and be like, Mayor, it might be Friday night.
That is not a false
It might
statement.
be Friday night, and she'll be like, Mayor, I got something for you. I'm like, all right, now, Miss Augustine. But I really want to say I appreciate it, Madam Manager. She reached out to us for the upcoming budget season.
Yes.
And we tore her ear up. We want this.
Right. So you have advocated, definitely.
So we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the council?
I do.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, councilperson.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
You mentioned the canal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it possible, because we asked before it even began, they could just come in and give us a presentation of what's really going on? So the what I'm asking is regarding if someone can come in, because it is half completed, and tell us, because what I'm getting, since I'm right there by the canal, is, was it really that bad? And I said, yes, it was. And they said, why didn't someone do something before? Those are questions I can't answer.
Okay.
Your presentation has been beautiful, because you went with the surface information, and yes, they have started, but it's still the question of, is there possibility of a presentation from the United States Army Corps or whoever they contracted with to give us an update of what did they have to do, why was it left so long, and what's its durability for the future?
Thank you
I'm right by the canal.
Thank you for the question, and Marcus is saying yes in my ear, that I'm gonna co-sign it, yes, we can. Marcus is gonna set it up through our office. We'll send the communications to the village, and either if you guys need to do a sunshine meeting, if you want all the council members to be there, if you just want it to be a one-on-one, a Zoom. However, let's get some additional details as to how you would like this meeting structured. Marcus and myself will talk to the Department of Transportation and Public Works, and the necessary team members, if it's the U.S. engineer and whomever, so that you can get a full beginning to end. I can tell you this project started prior to our tenure, but under Commissioner Hardeman's leadership, we are actively staying on top of it. We do not want there to be any hiccups that we can control in this process.
Well, Ms. Augustine, please give the council, the commissioner, our best regards.
Thank you,
Tell him
ma'am.
we miss him, that we like you all, that you came, but he was real good when he was on the campaign, so we'd like to see him again.
Yes, ma'am. We'll communicate that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, he'll most likely be at the informational exposition, so that's a good thing. Councilperson Urban.
Yeah. First, thank you for being here. To Mr. Jones' staff as well. I'd actually address both of you. First of all, greatly appreciate everything that Mr. Hardeman as well as Mr. Jones has been doing. I know that it's a priority. I know that he's working on it, but I'll just still say it out loud. Low-income housing, low-income housing, low-income housing. So, and not to be confused with workforce housing. Workforce housing is code for not low-income housing. Low-income housing, desperation, low-income housing, low-income housing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Urban. Councilperson Martin.
Just back to the canal, I think I read something that had the completion date being somewhere in late 2024. Is that correct, or can you give us a completion date at this point?
I can, as of this afternoon. Yeah, as of this afternoon, the email said, I'm gonna say spring of 2024. I don't wanna put a date, it does have a date, but we know that we have missed prior dates, so I don't wanna be held to a specific date, but we do have. I wanna tell you spring of 2024, and if anything changes before then, because we are actively paying attention, I will update you on that as well. So we're not the beginning of spring of 24, give me till the end of spring of 24. So let's say, what is that, April, May, is that the best thing? Because we don't have all seasons in Miami. So May of 2024, and if I see by January we have another hiccup, I'll update you that we need a little bit more time. But it is 2024, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Before any of them leave, does anybody from the audience have any questions for either the state senator's office or the county commissioner's office? No?
My last comment, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Manager. You have communicated the needs of the village to the commissioners. We are in the process now of planning our fiscal year 2024, 2023, 2024. Yeah, but the budget cycle, and you constantly tell us how important the village is to our district, and we appreciate that, and you're gonna keep our feet to the fire. So
Yes,
thank you.
indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
guys.
opportunity.
Thank you very much. All right, take care. Moving on, you guys, to Section G, Resolutions, Ordinances. Attorney Geller? It's Ordinance G1. Attorney Geller? Attorney Geller? Attorney Geller, if you look at the ordinances and resolutions, Ordinance G1, if we could have that read into the record, please.
This is second reading, Mayor. An ordinance of the Village of Elkton, Florida relating to signs and advertising, revising Chapter 4 Animals and adopting a new section of Chapter 4 as provided herein, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much, Attorney Geller. Any questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from the audience? Public hearing open at 7:27 p.m. Any questions or comments from the audience? Public hearing closed at 7:28 p.m. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Roll call, Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Erbaum.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Moving on to the reports. For everybody here who does have something to talk about, we do have the good and welfare at the end, okay, for you guys to speak about what you want to speak about. Madam Manager? Jesus. Yeah, so you're,
Okay, well, thank you all. Thank you, Mayor Nickerson. Just an update. We have some very good news. The Village of El Portal has received $537,477.88 as part of our Hurricane Irma FEMA reimbursement. It came through from the states. Thank you. So that is very good news.
How much?
$537,477.88. We owe $695,551.21. So we're very close to having this debt free. Yeah.
but the rest of that money is being worked on, and this
Yes.
it's part of the way here already. So.
Absolutely. In fact, we've already gotten through one major hurdle, which is the federal government. Now we're just waiting for the state. But we continue to produce the documentation that they have requested. I think this is our 12th go-round producing the same things, but we're still producing them and helping the newer staff at FDEM so that we can get those funds loosened up. So we're getting close.
So there's less than $1 million, there's $1 million and something still due, yes?
No, it's
No,
almost
no,
a
no.
million too.
No.
But we have only about 100 and almost
Hun-
200,000 remaining on the debt.
200,000 remain, that's what I'm trying to say.
Less than that.
Yes.
Remaining on the Synovus note that we just renegotiated last month.
Listen, people, we all need to applaud. That's really good news. That's not made up stuff. It's hard to get money back. It's hard to get money back, and the fact that we've right at 100,000, that's it, but we've already been reimbursed. Congratulations, you're still doing a wonderful job no matter what you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So yeah, we're really happy. And again, me and the mayor talked to our contacts, and we're just diligent about getting those funds back. And our efforts are paying off. So we just have to keep stay consistent, so I am doing that.
Thank you, Madam Manager, for the recognition. A lot of people don't like to recognize that you and I do everything together, but I appreciate you putting that out there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, also, I want to just, I mean, I'm not going to give my whole report. It is on the village website, just in the interest of, just giving you the highlights. And that was the big news that I really wanted to share. But I also wanted to let you all know, we did have a state, legislative request, funding request. We had two. One was for the Village Hall expansion. The other one was for parks renovation. Sorry, I miswrote it in the report. I'll amend that. And our parks renovation request was dropped in favor of the Village Hall expansion through the course of the session. And we got all the way to the governor's desk, and he voted against it. So we didn't get that funding for our Village Hall expansion. So we didn't receive those funds again this year. But our legislative team will be attending an upcoming council meeting where they would like to talk about the session and, recommend some funding opportunities. But I think we always make the same funding request because that's what we need most. Parks, stormwater, water projects, and the Village Hall was something we thought we could maybe get this time around. So we'll keep trying, but I wanted to make you aware of just where we are with the legislative ask. But we do have good news about FEMA, so I'm happy enough with that. Any other items, please do take a look at the village website for the manager's June 2023 report, and I'm always available for questions. Oh, and also, just another piece to add, we did have our first special magistrate hearing today. It was reinstituted, this process through code enforcement. Code enforcement officer Simmons coordinated it, did all of the running around, and got a fantastic special magistrate. We had 24 cases today, 10 a.m. to about 2:30 p.m. It was all day. But we got a lot done, a lot accomplished, and I think this is going to be very helpful as we move forward to see the changing face or the changing, environment of the village, and really, and provide the residents an opportunity, but also hold them to the code. And so we're expecting to see a lot of good things come from that. And Mr. Geller was very good and had much to say on each case as well. So thank you very much. And you'll hear more about that at our upcoming Code Enforcement Committee meeting. That concludes my report, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to my office. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manager Liu, and myself, Manager Liu, moving forward, have some new ideas about how to move into the future when it comes to our legislative situation in Tallahassee. So we'll speak on that in the future. Attorney Geller, if you, your report. You guys, you see my report. If you have any questions, anybody can contact me.
Very quickly. The only thing, I'd like to thank our Senator's office for showing up. He's a good guy. And also like to thank our County Commissioner's office for showing up. He's also a good guy. The only thing I'll comment on, Mayor, the manager talked about already. We had, 4 hours of code enforcement today. There's a lot because we haven't done it in a long time. But our code enforcement officer is really on the ball. He was extremely organized. He had all the documentation. He had every case. And, I know that people watch these meetings. You better obey the code because he's tough. And he will hold you to the letter of it, and he did that with a lot of people today. I want to agree also with the manager, who obviously gets a lot of credit for having hired that guy. The special master that we had today was outstanding, just outstanding, and did a really good job. And she was tough, but she also had a compassionate side, and people who racked up big fines. If they came into compliance, they got some mitigation. But for the people who did not come into compliance, they're still in the system, and they're likely to get hit because they're taking too long. But I thought her judgment in particular was really good. Every time I had a number in my head, she said it. So she's either reading my mind or she has excellent judgment, maybe both. So it was, code enforcement is so important, and it's been something I know that the mayor, the council have been pushing hard. We've had our ups and downs with it, but I like the manager. You know, it was a long one today, about 4 hours. But it is a real step forward for this village. I've been here a long time, and I've never seen that process work as well as I saw it work today, Madam Manager. So I just, you know, I don't comment on a lot of things, but that one today was outstanding, and it was tough, right? But I think they ended up fair, and that's important too. So for people watching on TV, if you get a courtesy notice, don't ignore it. Get on it. Clean your property up. Do your neighbors and yourself a favor. And that'll conclude my report.
Thank you very much, Attorney Geller. Appreciate that. Moving on to, any questions for Attorney
Mayor?
Geller?
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot.
4 hours in session, 24 cases presented,
Yes.
24 cases completed, 24 cases meaning more than one individual and resident? Okay, that's my first question. Second would be, is the code enforcement person here? Okay. The manager, I commend you for hiring someone who knows their job, because we're supposed to be successful. We're supposed to get what we want, because this is a violation. If one person gets away with doing something, then everybody's gonna try. But since we're a little bitty village, people think that we don't have the muscle to get that type of litigation completed. What's the name of the judge?
It's Andre.
Something. Anyway, I asked it because, to me, the courtesy of a correspondence from this council, even from your office, would be, you know, it's just a thing to do, so that people can stop thinking the little bitty village of El Portel. No, we have the same responsibility as the bigger ones, but we just want it processed properly. So I commend the whole staff and Attorney Geller for you all sticking in there and making sure that our codes are not just overlooked. And what I want to say while I'm on the record to the villagers who are listening, pass the word. We may be little, but we're also educated. We're also competent, and we also care. Thank you so much for the report. I'm glad to hear it all passed. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mayor.
Best I've seen. The best I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them.
The best I've heard in years, so that's why I'm talking. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Mayor. So 2 things, and I might be stepping on Code Enforcement Committee, but I know that we spoke about doing some sort of informational flyer to the villagers, just to make sure that they know, like, what the heavy hitting items are and how to stay in compliance with the code. Have we done that yet, or are we in the process?
We
Yes,
have-
we have.
So, sorry, Madam Manager, if you go ahead if you want to.
No, I was just going to say, we do have a flyer with some items on it that we passed out, but I wouldn't say those are
Right.
it might not be heavy hitting.
Right.
Oh, and I think the mayor just said that he's planning on putting them out this weekend.
Yes.
So,
So we
you
do
know,
have a flyer.
everybody that was kind of shook by that warning, you'll know how to stay in compliance.
Well,
this weekend.
additionally, so we were going to have a code enforcement committee meeting earlier, but with this magistration on the schedule, we decided to wait until after this magistration process to have the code enforcement committee meeting, so that a full update could kind of be made, and then, you know, discussion out of, you know, what were the primary issues, the, kind of consistent, long-going issues and things like that. So, but I do think that Officer Simmons also does a very good job of articulating.
No, he really does.
Yeah, when he does communicate with the residents. So, yes, so that's all in process essentially, and this magistration process was kind of the last piece before, the pebble gets removed and the rock starts rolling. So
Perfect. Good to hear that that's working its way through. And then this is a question for the mayor before we wrap up. I know that we were going to talk about staff evaluations. I don't know if it was this meeting or the next one, but I just want to be properly prepared.
Yeah, it's going to be the next one because I'm still working on the attorney one.
Okay.
And I want to have all of them done the right way. And it's going to be still within time because throughout August is when I wanted to kind of complete the evaluation so that when we go into September and the budget meetings and stuff like that, then based off the evaluations, it kind of helps us out with budgeting and things like that.
That
So,
makes perfect sense.
yeah.
I just wanted to
That's
make
the
sure
only
that
reason.
was still on our
No,
radar and we're still
100%.
geared to go on that. So
100%.
I appreciate that.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson Martin. Appreciate it.
Thank
May
you.
I also, I just want to make a correction. The special magistrate's name is Andre McKinney Dorval.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. Appreciate that. All right. Any other questions for the attorney? Any other comments? Okay. All right. Moving on to good and welfare. This is the time right now where if anybody has anything they want to say, you can come up to one of the podiums, say your name and address for the record. You can speak about anything at all, not just things on the agenda. Just make sure you say your name and your address for the record, please.
So Scott Kobrick, 8525 Northeast 4th Avenue Road. So basically, I stood up here last time, and I'm sure most of you remember, regarding Skatebird and the noise that has been going on since then. Since that time, it has actually gotten quite worse. There's more events, more days of the week. And so I know that last time we kind of had discussed that maybe we were going to try to get it on the agenda for this meeting. And I'm not sure, I guess that didn't happen, but I wanted to try to understand what the path forward could be. I wanted to sort of read the ordinance as it reads, or if that helps. But it essentially says that during the hours Monday through Friday, let me just read it. It says, I'm just going to get to the point where it's referring to bands, radios, televisions, etc. And this is in the noise section, and it says that basically the operation of any of such between the hours of 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and between 12 a.m. and 8 a.m. Friday and Saturday, in such a manner to be plainly audible at a distance of 100 feet from the building, structure, or vehicle in which it is located shall be in violation of this section. And so that is happening consistently. And from what I understand, I know that this was something that maybe was, I'm not sure if this was addressed at the code enforcement meeting today at all, but basically I had been in touch with Officer Simmons several times before the last time, and he had instructed me to continue to call the non-emergency number, which I've been doing, so that a case could be built in relation to that. What he had told me is that what's happening is that they're continuing to get special events permits, and that those are being given out, regularly, and as a result of that, but that is not a reason to, cause a disturbance to the residents of the neighborhood, and that so. Basically, it seems, and I don't want to, offend anybody or anything like that, but it seems like these special events permits are being used as a sort of a license to break the law on a regular basis. And it's we have, losing sleep over this. It's starting to happen several days a week. Half of our week is filled with, either an MC over the mic that we hear inside of our house, that is, the whole commentary we're hearing. And then at other times, there's much worse, loud DJs or music that are screaming curse words. I don't even want to say what is being said on these, in these things. There's asking the audience to scream back these, very vulgar things. And, there's children in the neighborhood. And it is, I think that it is a big problem. I know that the Skatebird itself was approved as a skate park, and its main core business function is supposed to be a skate park. It is in very close distance to residential houses. And of course, the Village of El Portal has always been a very quiet, oasis, and this is definitely affecting myself, and I know my neighbors as well. And so this is something that, I've kind of told my neighbors I'm going to come speak on and everything, and try to address. I wanted to understand, as of last time, like I said, Officer Simmons had said that other than calling the non-emergency number, he said that there was a meeting that was supposed to take place. I know last time the owner had said that he was going to do some sort of mitigation curtains or get his own equipment to make sure that that decibel level that's hit is not exceeding. Again, in the ordinance, it says 100 feet. My house is over 1,000 feet away as the crow flies, and we are hearing it. My house was rattling. Last time that Officer Dorsey went and, I had to call the non-emergency number several times. He called me back and said, look, I'm here with my supervisor, and we're at the police station, and we hear it, we hear this really loudly and rattling. And it's something that I'm having to deal with, 4 nights a week. I'm having to call and go through this process, and I just am trying to figure out what the path forward will be to get this, try to sort it out so we can have peace and quiet in our neighborhood and be able to sleep and not have our children be hearing curse words and all that all the time. And I do want to highlight again, I understand that, the skate park brings a lot to the community. I see the benefits in it and all of that, but I think that the difference between the sort of family-friendly events and these other loud concerts and parties are a big difference. And that's not so my concern what type of events that they're having, but obviously the peace and quiet and the loud noise, 4 nights a week is what I'm trying to address.
So I will be more than happy to, it's not scheduled yet, but the Code Enforcement Committee meeting will most likely be taking place in the next 2 to 3, like either the 2nd or 3rd week of July.
Okay.
Once it is on the calendar, then it will be noted and publicly noticed. And I will be more than happy to put this specific item as an agenda item on that meeting, as well as have Officer Simmons be able to present at that meeting truly where we are with history of violations and discussions he's had, and review the ordinance and see what we can do to accomplish resolving this, because as I had said before, I think it's important to have live music and things like this, but I certainly am deeply empathetic with the reality of having, someone else's event in your head is not going to be is not going to be it's unhealthy. It's I'll just cut right to that. It's unhealthy, right? So it affects mental health and physical health once sleep is upset and things like this. So I don't have a date at the moment. The code enforcement magistration that took place today was not a code enforcement meeting. It was essentially a scheduled series of small trials for mitigation purposes of people who are essentially challenging a history of violations, right? So it's possible the Skatebird will end up in magistration at some point, but I can at least assure you that this item will be on the code enforcement agenda. We will have a full rundown from Officer Simmons. We will have a discussion regarding the ordinance as it stands and what we can possibly do to strengthen the ordinance, specifically from a enforcement perspective, and go from there. So, Mr. Attorney?
If I can add something, Mr. Chair. Two quick points. Number one, as part of our ongoing conversations that Chair Martin has been leading in terms of our short-term rental issue, which is,
Joe,
been
speak in
pretty
the mic.
intense.
Point of order.
Okay.
Joe, speak in the mic.
As part of those ongoing discussions that we've had, that Chair Martin has been leading on short-term rentals, one of the solutions we've come up with to, deal with the issues raised by it is strengthening our noise ordinance, not targeted specifically to who's making the noise, but to toughen the noise ordinance period as it applies to everyone. However, in addition to changes in the ordinance, still a little bit down the road, but something that we're beginning to look at, if, as this gentleman says, the ordinance we have is not being complied with, then we do have the ability as a municipality to enforce our laws. And as you move forward, Chair Urbom, on that, I will also make sure that I'm talking with our code enforcement officer about that particular section of code, and we're happy to work with you and with Mr. Simmons and the manager to devise a better, more effective strategy to enforce the ordinance we've already got on the books.
And to address, for example, the issue with the special event permits.
Well, I mean, if something is being heard at a distance, that's that great a distance, it would appear that that's a violation.
Agreed.
And whether it occurs because you're having a birthday party or because you've gotten a special event permit, I mean, if it was an annual event, that's one thing, but if it's something that's occurring
Right.
multiple nights.
Right, like a 70th birthday party is different than an event venue. So, yeah.
So I just want to,
Yeah.
we'll work with you and with the code enforcement officer and the manager on that. And, if we need to wrap in the PD as well, that's a possibility. But I can
Yeah,
say, without fear of contradiction, we have a code enforcement officer who's enforcing our codes. If our codes are being violated,
And we'll need to
there
look at
will
zone.
be action.
We'll need to look at zone discrepancies as well in terms of if the rules are different in one zone versus another. So.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. No, please.
I just have a quick question. So, first of all, the code enforcement meeting, you said you don't know when it is? First,
Right,
second,
it'll most likely be in either the second or third week of July. Yeah, so I'll need to, so this is actually a discussion I had as a sidebar with the manager as I walked in tonight in terms of, hey, we had great success with the magistration process, we're ready for the code enforcement meeting. So we actually had a quick discussion of, okay, so by tomorrow morning, there will be emails already of picking a date.
So is that something that I would be able to do?
Absolutely, yes, these are open to the public. In fact, we encourage the public to come to all meetings. And so, most definitely, and anybody, for example, you're here representing other neighbors tonight, it sounds like. So, any and all, even people from outside El Portal would be welcome at that meeting. I know we've had meetings in the past over other issues where people have come from outside either to offer expert advice or, things like that. So, any and all are welcome. And there will be time for everyone. As the chair, I can guarantee you that, so.
Okay, great. And I actually do have, personally, I know that the meeting won't rely on this, but I do have plans to be away from the 1st to the 15th of July. If it happens during that time, is there any way to represent my.
No, I'm glad you told me that, and I'll work on having it. So I'll be out of town starting, I think, on the 25th. So it's going to be between the 16th and the 24th that the meeting will take place. So,
Great.
so there you go.
Thank you. And
Yeah, go ahead.
my second question is just the process with the special events permits. Basically what I just wanted to address is, I guess, that what seems to be happening is that they are consistently, like, I call the non-emergency number.
So I'll put the item on the agenda
Okay.
for specifically referencing special permitting
Yeah.
at Skatebird. I will put the agenda item on as that, so that rises to the forefront of the discussion immediately. And then it sounds like in that discussion, we will accomplish some sort of path to a solution.
Okay, great, because
It does sound like that's the issue.
May
Yes.
I
Seems like
please
that's exactly-
respond about this, please? I'm
Sure.
just trying to get
Yeah,
a
sure.
moment here.
Yes, sorry.
Yes, they have been requesting special events permits since they opened the doors. The special events permit is not to violate the noise ordinance. The special events permit is for them to utilize spaces in the parking lot for a food truck.
Okay.
If you do a public records request, you can see what the special events permits are for.
Sure.
Now, as of late, we've been denying special events permits because Skatebird has been in violation of those special events permits. We cannot find enough staff to man those events. We also have police staff assigned to those events. So it is not that they're allowed to violate the noise ordinance. They do it anyway.
I see.
And so Mr. Simmons, our code enforcement officer, and I have met on several occasions with Skatebird about the noise violations, because I read your emails and, we do respond. But in those meetings, I have required a sound mitigation plan. I have not been given the sound mitigation plan yet. And so I did state until we receive that, no more special events permits. So what I understand, they had a big event. They did not have a special events permit, though. So we'll work with you. I empathize and sympathize with you because you're not the only one we hear from in these instances. But the special events permits are issued, as our council have said, for people who are having a special party or an event, or they need, not every weekend, 4 days a week kind of thing. We wouldn't do that to ourselves or our residents. But just know that I think Mr. Strauss is in a situation where he is renting out the space as an event space, and that may be against what the use that is being provided through a certificate of occupancy. So we'll have to look at a lot of things, and I think that with Councilperson Urban making that one of the agenda items for discussion, we can also look at zoning, and the things that are allowed in that space. So we hear you, and we'll represent your concerns if you aren't able to be there.
Thank you very much,
You're
and I
welcome.
appreciate the clarity on that. The one thing I just want to mention in response is that I believe that maybe the police department would need to be let know that, because every time that I call the non-emergency number, or most of the times, maybe not in the past week or so, that their response to me is, well, they have a permit to do this until X time. And so they're, at a little bit of I think a misunderstanding on what is supposed to be done in that circumstance. Officer Dorsey has been extremely helpful. I've spoken to him several times. But I think that he might feel like he's up against a wall because he goes and tells them, and then they don't do anything about it. And I'm not sure if that's being followed up from code enforcement. So.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate the manager offering that specifically with code enforcement. It's frequently the case where people will say, why hasn't anything been done yet? And code enforcement is one of those situations where still waters run deep. And so this is what I mean by we will have Officer Simmons be able to give us a breakdown of kind of the history of where he's been through, right? Where we're at, where the issue is with lack of ability to enforce, which seems to be the critical issue here. I think we're all in agreement about what needs to be enforced. It seems like we need to address the enforcement aspect of this. And again, in code enforcement, sometimes the enforcement process can be lengthy and drawn out, including to the point where people have the opportunity, as is their right, to challenge everything in front of a magistration. That's what I mean by it's very likely that Skatebird will end up in magistration over these issues. So, yes, I'll leave it there. But just to say, echo what the manager was saying in terms of, there's no desire to ignore this. There's no desire to wish it away. We will address this, and your comments certainly are helpful, truly. Your emails are helpful. Your complaints are helpful. So, again, as a former restaurant manager, it was always very helpful to have complaints. Someone walks out the door and they don't tell you what's wrong. You can only really truly be aware of so much. You need your staff to tell you what's wrong. You need the customers to complain. You really do. And so, so I will just say that this is very helpful, and to realize that we are trying to get to a resolution here. So
Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, you want to come from Good and Welfare? Just say your name, address for the record. Appreciate you.
My name is Dwight Garman, 415 Northwest 88 Terrace. Myself and my wife went over there, speaking of this issue real quickly here, to speak with the manager, the owner, where we got in contact with the manager. She assured me that on Thursdays is when they have these big events and stuff. And yes, they are renting out space. I asked that question. So ma'am, you're right. Village manager, you're right. They are renting out space. I asked that question. My concern was because I live on 88 Terrace, so I'm not anywhere clear there. But if the upper tier residents, I have to be concerned with what's really going on in this community. So upon talking to her about that, she made it clear, like I said, that they do rent out certain spaces for certain events. So I think we have one of the clear violations there. I asked her how long does it stay open. She said sometime about 1 and 2 in the morning. I know that's a violation itself. So you're looking at a couple of violations here. The residents, you have a right to be safe in your environment, at your workplace, where your family reside, or to play at. And if these things are going on, we're really looking at some issues we need to deal with. And I'm quite sure the village manager and all the council person, I'm quite sure y'all gonna get with that. So I thank you for these few moments, because I gotta go. But thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anybody else Good and Welfare?
Mr. Manager,
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know, that's my husband that he's talking about. We went over there ourselves. I heard this gentleman. I not only just heard him, I felt his anger, frustration. It is not a building. It's an open forum. Council, I invite you to go see that place. You can't help but have noise. It's not covered in. It's open. And if we lived that close, I'd be just like him. It is open space. It is not in a building. It's open space. So when the manager says, we on this, they really are. But I had to go see myself. How in the world can you keep an entire village on that end of town because it's an open space? I'm not concerned about the permit I'm not concerned about us doing what we did in terms of I'm concerned about them taking it for granted that we can tolerate in a little bitty city on a major thoroughfare, that we can take that into consideration. No, it's wrong. And you should not have to be awake. They should be in a building. I thought they were in a building. Council, I thought they were in a building. They're in an open forum. Until you see it, then you're going to say, no, this can't be. This is terrible. and it gives a very bad light. I'm on 88 Terrace, and folks are complaining to me. I'm on 88 Terrace. I'm not even nowhere near it. So I went to see. I want to know. And now I know. There is nothing we can do, nothing this council can do but shut it down. That's basically it. If there's an authority, Mr. Attorney, if there's an authority to do so, because they came with the wrong impression. They did not tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We did not see it. We don't run around and look at places until there's problems. If we had a known and others had a said, they're wanting to open a business over here, and the whole council room was full of neighbors that said, we don't want them here, then we would have had to see it, and then we wouldn't be talking about this today, because it is an open structure. You can't make the noise quiet. You can't. And I, on behalf of the council and the village of El Portal, I apologize to you. But when I looked at it for myself, I'm on your side. It needs to be shut down. That's crazy. And we went one night when it was blaring. I see why. It's open space. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Anybody else for good and welfare? All right, name and address for the record again.
Yes, 8525 Northeast 4th Avenue Road. I just wanted to thank you for that, and I think that is a really important point. When they were talking about the mitigation and everything like that, that's the major problem, is that the place is built like a speaker. It is a tunnel that, has open on both sides. One potential option would be for them to enclose the space if they do want to continue to have these types of events and that sort of thing. And so that's all I wanted to mention, is that is, I think, a very core issue is that element, that the structure of the space, and that if it was an inside place, I don't think we would be hearing it over there, and they would be able to play the music at the same volume and have their guests enjoy. Having said that, I do think that as the ordinance states, and what I think is reasonable, that being where they are located, that they can also, I think that their guests would enjoy to hear the volume at a lower level and still be able to have the same enjoyment from that. And if that is a possible solution as well, to find what that level is, and then make sure that that level is, there's some sort of way to make sure that that's where it's staying.
And then the hours also. The hours are a huge point of contention. It's just absolutely way too late. So, I mean, on top of everything else. So, in addition to, yeah. So.
And yes, so thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And at the same time, I just want to note that I do, my heart, I love the village of El Portal for so many reasons, and it's my, it has a deep place in my heart, and I hope that it can stay a place that I and many other people want to live. That is a place that we can enjoy, the quiet enjoyment of our homes. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anybody else for good and welfare?
I just have a little comment.
Yeah, go ahead,
Because
Councilperson Martin.
I definitely knew what Skatebird was, have seen Skatebird previously. I think that both of the things can live at the same time. It can be a great venue when used as a skate park, because I do think that there are benefits to that for our young kids, for those that are into skating. I think it's a great landmark for the village. However, I think we're running into an issue with how they are using it, and the use is where it gets muddy. So I still think the Skatebird is a great addition to the landscape of the village of El Portal. I think that how they are using it is problematic and something that we can be impactful on, and then they will have to make the business decision of like if they're going to continue to use it that way, or what actual mitigating factors they can employ. But I do think it's a more nuanced conversation than we love Skatebird or we hate Skatebird. And it's something that I'm happy that Councilman Erbaum is going to engage in at the next council committee meeting, because I do think that there is a place to make it such that you rightfully are able to quietly enjoy your property. It would drive me crazy. I have a 3- and a 4-year-old, and I don't know how you've done it as long as you've done it. But in addition to that, figure out a way where Mr. Strauss can operate in the way that we envision him operating in the village. So we definitely hear you. And hopefully the next committee meeting will get us closer to threading that needle and coming up with a solution that's good for the community and also good for where we envision this area of El Portal going. So that's all I want to say.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Anybody else? Oh, we have somebody. Say your name and address for the record for me, JR. Thanks.
Good evening. Jay Rivero, 225 Northeast 86th Street. Who is Code Enforcement Committee in the village? Who's the chairperson?
I'm the
And
chair.
who's the other two?
So I'm the chair. And the other two?
Okay. Can you please put on the agenda for your next meeting, and I will be here,
Okay.
review of ordinance or resolutions for what the village currently has and what needs to be updated? I've been asking for this because someone filed complaints against my property. It stays unnamed because of lights. The individual is utilizing county ordinance, not village ordinance. And we need to get this fixed because I cannot live with a dark backyard, back patio, and also not have my security lights because my lights are disturbing the individual. Okay? I don't want to say much, but we need to review all of our ordinance to make sure that residents of the village follow the guidelines. And if you abuse the system, we need to create some sort of a fine for calling on unnecessary items.
So I will say that recently we have decided to kind of split resources regarding our urban planner who has been helping us updating codes and ordinances. And so what we have found is that they have a very specific expertise at a very high level with certain things, but they have been kind of getting bogged down a little bit in a lot of these discussions about various ordinances. So we've actually already taken a step to bring in another planner who can handle almost exactly what you're talking about more efficiently, while the original urban planner is able to stay on task with some of the larger projects, right? The ordinance in general, we are very well aware, is outdated, and throughout the code, we need a great many updates to it. And so, as different things rise to a priority level, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So I, again, very greatly appreciate all comments brought in to the council to make these things aware. I would be happy to put specifically on the agenda something regarding lighting, but it would be completely unfeasible to do a full review of the entire code at a committee meeting, or even a series of committee meetings. The code itself is a active work in progress that is being given a great amount of time and money by the village in terms of, seeking outside professional help to help us get our ordinances up to date. The most up-to-date ordinances before we brought in these urban planners were from 1984, I believe. And then before that, we might be talking 1950s before it's been 30 years and then 30 years again.
Can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely.
create a town hall meeting, put that on your agenda. Let the residents decide which ordinance have affected them, or make those our priority. The residents bringing those concerns to you. Set up a town hall meeting with all the residents so that we could address what is affecting us.
Okay. I like that suggestion. Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Another item, the county just left, but what's the status on sewer to
Septic
line?
to sewer.
And what's, does the state, is going to provide any additional money?
This is a long conversation. Why don't I call you tomorrow? We can have the conversation
Okay.
because
That's
it's
it.
going to be a long
My 3
conversation.
minutes are
All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else good and welcome? Seeing, hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. You guys, the regular council meeting for Tuesday, June 27, 2023 is adjourned at 8:16 p.m. Thank you very much.